Get ready for Dani Johnson.
Get ready for some powerful strategies financially.
Get a grip on your finances.
2% of the population will do well financially.
Only 2%?
Learn how to unlock the financial kingdom.
Dani's got the keys. Finances, love, life, relationships.
Listen in right now to the Dani Johnson Show.
The Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We are very, very blessed that you decided to join us today, and I hope you decide to join us each and every day. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, every single day, Sunday through Friday, we only have Saturday where there's not a show that's airing on the radio or television, we bring you content and discussion that's going to help you define success for you. And maybe even redefining success. Because, you know, so many people tell us what that's supposed to look like, but each of us have our own destiny. We have our own calling. And there's certain giftings and talents and abilities that we've been given since we were planted in our mother's wombs. And so for each of us, success has a different picture. And so today, I want us to discuss something that I've actually battled with. I had battled with actually for years until I was completely free from this particular topic in 2001. It was actually June 28th of 2001 was the last time that I have battled with depression. Now that's 13 years ago, at least a minimum of 13 years ago, that I haven't had a single issue of it. It isn't because of success or anything like that, because even in my early years, I battled with depression, even after I made my first million. And I've learned a few things along the way, and there was a few, well, discoveries that I had to make for myself that, well, I didn't realize was driving me into depression. And so depression and stress and being overwhelmed can hinder us from reaching our full potential, hinder us from reaching our destiny and even living out the journey that leads us to that destiny. And I understand it. You know, there's lots of different opinions about depression. And some people say it's a choice. Some people say, oh, you just need an attitude adjustment, or you just need to be happy. These are some of the common things that come up. I remember when I was battling it, I remember going, gosh, man, I'm in love with my husband. I have amazing children. I am so blessed. We have plenty of money. I've got a roof over my head. I'm healthy. I'm strong. We have cars to drive. Why in the world am I so sad? Why do I want to die? I mean, I battled suicide, friend, for a really, really long time. And what this caused me to do in the marketplace was my business was up and down, up and down, up and down. And my identity was all wrapped up in my earning potential, especially after I had made my first million. It was like, man, I got to keep that up. Every time I would reach some big financial goal or I'd buy some big stupid thing that I thought was really important and defined my success, when I did those things, whenever it came to a place of, wow, years that were lean, oh my gosh, my whole identity was just crushed. I literally lost myself in the things that I had been striving for, and I had never identified that prior to that time. It took a long, long time. In fact, 11 years. It took 11 years before that got crumbled for me, meaning that before it was like, that was like a house of cards that somehow I bought myself into, and my life, my happiness, my joy was locked up in such the wrong thing. And unfortunately, a lot of other people's identity is wrapped up in the wrong thing as well. And so we're gonna tackle this topic of being overwhelmed and allowing stress to drive us into depression, and how do we get out of it? And what does it actually look like? What does that depression feel like? And then what does it look like to get on the other side of it? So one of the things that I would love for you to participate with us in is that if you have been one who has battled with depression and you have beat it. Man, you've sucked that sucker in the face, and it's been a certain period of time since you've even thought a thought like that. How did you do that? What steps did you take? 844-200-3264. Because I know that there's somebody listening right now who is struggling with this right this very minute. You know, here we've got holidays that are approaching, right? Or whatever it is. It could be holidays that's approaching. It's time for a vacation. You can't afford to go. You got bill collectors that are calling you. Your boss is harping dropping on you. Maybe you just lost your job. Maybe you just lost a child. Your house might have been foreclosed on. It doesn't matter what time of year depression seems to be. Well, it seems to have no boundaries. It seems to be that anything can trigger it, and all of a sudden we feel that heavy feeling inside of our belly. Our faces are gloomy. Our eyes are not exuding any energy, but it's just, I'll never forget this. This is the time that I almost took my life. My eyes literally had no life coming out of them. I was, 24 years old? I was 24 years old, and it was just like, my eyes were open. I would be looking at my husband, but not looking at him. Do you know what I mean? I would look at my children, but not look at them. It was as almost though I had glass eyes and I was completely blind. There were people in front of me, but I could not see them because everything that was going on inside of my head and in my heart, but more importantly, in my belly, was so tormenting. It was as though I was suffocating, right? That there was no air or that I was drowning. You know, I held my breath for as long as I could hold my breath, and yet I'm trying to get air, but I can't find the air. And inside, I actually died. I actually died inside. Vision had died. Goals had died. The problems were so huge. This giant amount of bills, tax bills, not to mention my huge overhead at home as well as in my company. It was insurmountable. It was not a mountain of financial problems. It was like an earth of financial problems. And I felt like an entire earth, a planet, was weighing on top of me. And I had spent years trying to hold it up. But eventually my muscles just weakened and gave up. Have you ever been there? Call me now. If you're there right now, call me. Let us work together to help you to come out from under that. And if you have overcome that, let us hear. Somebody needs to hear your voice. You see, part of the reason why you went through that depression, part of the reason why you lost that fight, whereas in those battles, is so that you could help somebody else get out of them. There's no question in my mind that every single trial I've been through in my life, every ounce of suffering that I've endured in my life, whether that was by my own choices, right? Because we do that. You know, we make some really bad choices, and some of those choices result in bad circumstances that then cause us to just say, forget it. I can't live. I can't do this. I'm done. I surrender. And unfortunately, I had surrendered to the thought processes of suicide. And thank God that my husband was a martial artist, because he disarmed me and he saved my life. 2 decades ago, he saved my life because I had allowed life to beat me up so badly. And what was I? Yeah, I had been teaching people how to succeed. That was one of my businesses. Yeah, I stood for success, and yet I was living in the agony of defeat. So if you were that person and you managed to climb yourself out of that sewage pit, call me right now, 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. Why? Because you're going to help somebody today climb out of their sewage pit. Here's another thing. You never, ever know who is around you that is battling with this. You know, sometimes there's words that can trigger us to wonder if they are. You know, they're constantly negative. They're always complaining. They're pitiful in their very demeanor. It's written all over their face. Even on their antidepressants, you can look at their eyes, but the eyes are glazed over, right? I mean, it's a crazy number of people. In fact, there's nearly 15 million adults that actually suffer from depression. I wonder what the number of kids is. I know there's a lot of kids that suffer through depression as well. But if you were one of those, you got out, tell us about it. If you're one of those right now, call me. Let us work together. Let us reason together. And let's find solutions for you. 844-200-3264. Again, that is 844-200-3264. Share with us your story. Share with us what helped you, or share with us what is hurting right now. And I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, two heads are better than one, friend. Two heads are better than one. And when we only isolate ourselves into being the only one that we're listening to, and that we're not surrounding ourselves with a cloud of witnesses that can help us, well, then that's where we get defeated, is in our isolation. So come out of that isolation and pick up the phone and call us, 844-200-3264. All right, so getting back to this, I want us to really look at all the different places, and here's why we're going to discuss this. You never know, first of all, who is around you that you work with that is suffering from this, which is why right now would be a really good idea to text a bunch of people, just do a massive text, maybe even go on Facebook and share with people that this show is actually taking place right now. You could direct them directly to our Facebook page or our website, and they can listen to it live from their smartphone. From their computer, from their iPad, they can listen right now to the show that's taking place. And so if there's a name or several names that just dropped into your heart, send them there. Now, and here's why. You see, there's beginning stages of depression. Some people are all in it. But see, you might be on the verge, walking on the road that's going to lead you to that sewage pit. Did you hear me? You know, we actually could be daily playing with words and circumstances and scenarios and making decisions each and every day that actually will result into a heavy depression. You know, we know this by the kind of pleasures that people try. Let me give you an example. Pleasure. Pleasure can be a good thing. It can also result in a very bad thing, right? For example, the pleasure of a man or a woman flirting while they're married to somebody else, but they're flirting with their boss. Now, that can be thrilling, that can be exciting. However, where does the road end? What does it result in? Where does it take us? It results in an overwhelming landfall of problems. So I think it's important for us to identify what is the beginning stages that lead in being one of the 15 million people, adults in just America. If we were to pull the rest of the world, I'm sure we'd come up with a whole lot more numbers. But what are the things that lead us into being overwhelmed? What's the result of that? As we keep adding more things to our life or flirting with things that we shouldn't be flirting with. Or maybe it's just a natural disaster that came upon us. I'm looking forward to taking your call. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
No matter what you think, feel, or imagine, if you want to make things right in your own life, you have to focus and believe. Stay tuned for helpful advice on life and more on The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Giving you the playbook to design your life. This is The Dani Johnson Show. And now, here's Dani.
You know, I remember feeling completely buried under a pile of problems and coming to the revelation that I just couldn't handle it anymore. Is that you? 844-200-3264. We're talking about how to get out from under that horrible, overwhelming, suffocating, drowning feeling of depression. You see, in this country, we have created the depression, and then we sell a drug to fix it. And the drug doesn't fix it. The drug does not fix it. Why is it that in this country the answer to everything is to medicate it? Every problem that we have, we can take a drug for it. I don't think that's the solution. The bottom line is you got to get to the symptoms. We got to look and discover what drove us to that place so that A, we don't go there again, B, that we are set free from this thing called oppression, depression, suppression, and that we stay far away from it. You see, I believe there's a lot of people on the verge of depression even right now. And then once you entertain that depression, then we get to bipolar, then we get to PTSD, we get to all of these terrible things that we now have labels for, and then people wear these labels wherever it is that they go. And you don't have to wear those labels. So we're going to be hearing today from callers who are calling us, telling us how they've overcome depression, what it felt like when they were there, how they got there, and how they got free from it. So no matter who you are, you could be on the verge of getting yourself there based on things that you're adding to your life. So you're going to identify with every person that calls in today. I know that somebody is going to get helped, and they're going to pull back and not head in that direction, because it hinders your success, my friend. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, we are redefining success for you. We are showing you what is the obstructions to it, and we are showing you how to bypass those things and get on a quicker path to what your goal is. So we're going to the first caller, line 1. We've got Melinda from San Antonio, Texas. Melinda, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I battled with very serious depression for about 20 years.
Wow.
I was on medication for about 10 years solid. I told the doctor, I would actually get really mad at the doctor when he would only write me a prescription for 6 months. Wow. I would tell him, I'm just going to need it for a lifetime. Why do I have to come back every 6 months?
Wow.
And,
Melinda, let me ask you a question. So how old were you when you first came under this very oppressive way of living called depression?
I think it came on when I was around 10 years old.
Really? Okay, now let's dissect this, honey. I really want to look at this, because there's people listening right now that they literally are on the road to depression and they don't even realize it. So let's identify. Right. 10 years old. What happened at 10 years old that caused this thing, this heavy, dark, suffocating cloud of depression to come over you?
My parents had a very tumultuous relationship, and divorce and separation, and it was a lot of worry and negativity and fear all the time. And it started at 10, and it got worse as the years went on. It got way worse.
So when you say that they had a tumultuous relationship, so was there a lot of fighting in the house?
A lot of fighting, yes. Mm-hmm. Very, just bad words, and it was just really terrible. And my dad was out at all hours of the night and with other women, and so it was just, I would always worry for his safety, and and I would always sympathize with my mom, and I wanted to. I just sympathized with her, so I started to feel her feelings.
Mm-hmm. And so there was nobody there to kind of coach you along to not try to take on this guilt and this shame from your parents' lack of ability to be able to live in harmony with each other, or your father's lack of ability to stay true and faithful to his wife. So there wasn't anybody like coaching you through that at that time.
Well, I had older siblings, but they were way older. They are way older than me, and so they dealt with it in their own way, and I'm the youngest, so I was kind of left to deal with it in my own way.
So basically the answer is no. And then your mom, how would she speak about your father during all of this stuff?
Very bad, of course, and she just was engulfed in just bitterness. She was very bitter and very negative. Yep. I don't think that anything positive ever came out of her mouth, and so all of that bitterness and negativity and complaining and worry and fear, I just soaked it all in. Yep. And I didn't realize it at the time.
Of course not.
I just thought that's the way life was,
Yeah.
And so...
you know what? I got to hold you here real quick. We got to cut over to a break, and we're going to hear more about the story and then how you climbed out of it. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Whatever hurt, pain, trial, or situation you're fighting or fighting through, you've come to the right place. You are not alone. Stay tuned for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
But I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880, or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
We're back. Here's Dani Johnson.
Do you speak badly, poorly, negatively, in fullness of bitterness about your ex to your children? Do you have any idea what the impact will be on their little minds? Do you realize that your kids are part of their parent? They have their identity actually wrapped up in their parents, albeit not the wisest thing, but they're a child. They don't have wisdom just yet. You got to be really careful that if you've gone through a horrifying divorce, as we see that Melinda's parents did when she was just a little girl, Mom and Dad fought all the time in the home. Not only did they fight all the time, Dad had extramarital affairs. Mom spoke very bitterly, very angry at the husband, and spoke these things to her daughter about her father. This then began a road of 2 decades of antidepressants. We're talking about how to get out of that. Listen, my friend, the Dani Johnson Show is about success redefined. Everybody has their own path of success. A major hindrance to no matter what path of success that you're on, a major hindrance to your success is depression, bitterness, hatred, malice, speaking evil about other people. This will never result in a better paying job for you. This will never result in becoming financially independent if that is your path, your goal, your success. It will never result in you building a great company or being a great employer or a great employee. Depression comes from a series of events that happen in our lives, choices that we make, and in this case, choices that other people make. But then what we do with the choice after that is what determines where we go. And I want to see you reach your destiny. So today we're removing the obstruction of depression, finding out where does it actually come from, because you might be on the road right now that's going to drive you into the wall of depression that will suffocate you. Suffocate the life out of you, the vision out of you, the dreams out of you, your destiny be completely aborted because of these particular things. So we're taking calls today from people who once were depressed, overcame that depression, and even from people who are currently in it, so that we can hear what it sounds like, we can see it, we can identify it, and learn how to get out of it. So I'm going back over the phones. We've got Melinda from San Antonio. So Melinda, first of all, I am so sorry for that suffering that you had as a little girl. What an awful, terrible thing to have to endure. And it's unfortunate, but at the same time, all of our childhoods and all of our backgrounds has both advantages and disadvantages.
Right.
And we can use the disadvantages, and we can turn those disadvantages into advantages. That we can do. We don't have to stay in the disadvantage. We can actually flip that sucker around and use it for our benefit and the benefit of others. Okay, so you said that you can remember the first time dealing with depression at 10 years old. So Mom and Dad ended a divorce. When was the first time you ended up going to a doctor and getting prescribed the medication for the depression?
Well, my mom never recognized it as depression. She would always just say, oh, she's just lazy, and she's just in a bad mood all the time, because I would lock myself in my room and sleep, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I was just angry and mad at everybody and had an attitude. And so I didn't get help until I graduated from college and entered my own professional career. And it was only by the grace of God that I graduated from college, because in the course of this time, I got like chronic fatigue or something, and I just couldn't function. I couldn't get out of bed, and when I did get out of bed, it felt like I was walking through a fog. It just felt like I was carrying such a heavy burden on my shoulders.
Yes. Can you hold on right there? Because I want to speak to this about the parents who have kids that might have depression and not even know it. And it is quick for parents to go, you're lazy, you don't have any vision. Come on, do something with your life, you know? And and so would your mom say things like that to you, or would she just leave you?
Yes,
really? And what was the result of that?
Well, it made me feel worse, you know, and I started to think that of myself. I started to label myself as lazy and unmotivated, and whereas I had made all A's in school all the time, I started to think that I was worthless.
Wow.
And so I started to feel worthless, and so I started to think that it was a physical, like I just had maybe fibromyalgia. I started to try to find, like, what is this that's wrong with me?
Wow.
I didn't know what it was.
So how did you overcome? Because 20 years of antidepressants did not help, right?
No.
20 years of antidepressants didn't work.
No, and it was after I graduated from college, I began my professional career, and I had health insurance. So I went and took myself to the doctor, got on antidepressants. It was 10 years of antidepressants, and no, that did not work.
Yeah.
I would go through the motions. I was going to church. As time went on, it got worse and worse. I literally started to see and feel a pit all around me, and I was falling, like free falling.
Yes.
The way that people free fall out of an airplane.
Yes.
Free falling.
Yeah.
Into this big black pit, and I could never. I mean, I never landed, but there was always the fear of landing.
Yes.
And I was walking around with this 24/7 every second of my life.
Wow.
Whether I was awake or asleep, I could feel and see.
I've had that same exact feeling, Melinda. So you perfectly described my life in 2001. Oh my gosh, until June. Okay, so tell me, how did you break free? Because everybody has a different story about how they've overcome this. And again, you had this depression for 20 years since you were 10 years old. You were medicated for 10 of those years and seeing a psychologist. What finally helped?
Okay, I had tried everything. I should put that in there. I mean, I thought people, you know, I thought there's no way that the solution is as simple as opening the Bible and reading it. There's just no way, because this is a very complicated problem. It's lasted for so many years, and so I tried everything. I thought acupressure, hypnosis. When I went to the hypnotist, that's when the suicidal thoughts began, and it got way worse. And and it was just, I mean, I could almost hear the screeching of all of the demons and just telling me to kill myself, and that this was never going to get better, and the only way, that would be the only way out. And so that really scared me. And
so what worked, Melinda? Bring me to the solution.
I opened the Bible, and I began a Bible study, actually, and it's called A Journey Through the Bible. We started in Genesis and went all the way through Revelation. And at first, I just couldn't stand to even open the Bible and read it. I was mad, and, you know, how could a loving God let me go through this? And as I was patient and I read through the Bible, I discovered a very flawed way of thinking, and his words just healed my thoughts and my life and my past thoughts, and it just healed everything. And he literally took me from the deepest pit of hell to the highest heaven. And I got baptized, and I got one-on-one FaceTime with the creator of the universe in front of him, and I saw him. I felt his perfect love. And
which casts out all fear. Perfect love that casts out all fear, all the pain, all the suffering, all the everything.
Yes, and his word is literally the truth. He literally took me out of a miry pit and set my foot on solid ground, and he put a new song in my mouth, which is joy and peace. He literally did that. Wow.
And that is a phenomenon, a miracle, amazing testimony that you got so tired of being who you were, you surrendered to him. First, you surrendered to everything else. You surrendered to everything else. You surrendered to the doctor, to the drugs, right? Surrendered to all these diagnoses. You surrendered to the labels that you took on. I am lazy. There is something physically wrong with me. I do have a chemical imbalance in my mind. You took on all those other things. You surrendered to all these other gods, to be honest with you. That's what they are, that we put our trust and hope into until you came to surrendering to the creator of the heavens and the earth. That's the same one that healed me. That's the same exact one that healed me June 28th of 2001 of depression, completely through and through. How long has it been?
It's been 6 years.
Wow. How does it feel? How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I am overflowing.
Yes.
My family is like, can't believe it.
Yes.
And they tried to label me, and I told them, you can't put those labels on me anymore.
Amen.
Because God's word is true.
Yes.
When He says you're a new creation in Christ,
It's
He
true.
means it.
That's right.
And so I feel really great. I'm able to be a good role model for my nieces and nephews now. I text them daily.
Encouraging,
About the word of God.
Amen, amen.
Encouragement, because it is true, and it's the only thing that works. Everything else in this world is a lie.
Yes.
The word of God is the only truth.
Yes. My gosh, lady, you helped a lot of people today, Melinda. Thank you so much for sharing and being so raw and real about all of it. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to take more of those calls. How do you get out of depression? That was one way that you just heard. And we'll be right back.
Good people bring out the good in people. And you're sharing great moments with thousands of good people right now. There's more of the Dani Johnson Show coming up. Stay here.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by Him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
No excuses, just results. And now, back to more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Where do you cast your cares every day? Come on, you and I both have them, right? If we are involved with people in our lives that we work with, we sleep with, we walk down the road with, that we've given birth to, anytime we are surrounded by people and people's choices, we then make our own choices, and sometimes those choices result in depression. Yeah, they lead down a road. Your success is so important to us here at DaniJohnson.com that every single day, 6 days a week, Sunday through Friday, we bring you content to be able to keep you on the right track so that you define what success looks like for you and you reach your destiny. And every day we are giving you tips, ideas, and ways to bypass failures. And if you're in a failure, how can you get out of it? How do you move forward? How do you overcome that which is burying you? And in this case, depression is one of the things that has been a terrible plague in the world today. All over the world today, there's a crazy plague called depression. And we're going to poke that sucker in the eye today. And we've got 5 people on hold right now ready to share either their story about how they overcome in depression, what techniques, strategies, or skills that they use. And even there might be somebody calling in saying, I am depressed. How do I overcome? And so we're going to go over the phones. We got line 2. We've got Erica from Florida. Erica, welcome to the show. What have you got to say about depression?
Hi, Dani. Yes, thank you very much. I can so relate to the story before. Mine pretty much started when I was a kid, and around the same age, 10 years old. And in the family that I was brought up in, it was nobody has any problems. We can't let anybody know.
Meaning there was problems in the home, but the word was, Mom's the word. No one should know about what we're going through. So don't talk about the problems. Ignore them.
Exactly.
Let's slip it under the rug.
You took the words right out of my mouth. When I was 16, I had what I can remember a really bad breakdown, and I begged them to get me help.
Wow.
And no, that was a no. And then I finally convinced them, and I did go for help because I knew I needed it. I was always, as my mother would have said, God rest her soul, Erica, you're sick every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. What is the matter with you?
Now, what do you mean sick? So it was like a physical manifestation. So the depression, like, you know, what, you had sinus infections, migraine headaches? What do you mean when she was saying that you were sick?
Yeah, I would get headaches, and I would get very bad stomach aches because of all the upsetness in me. Well, I should say that I was abused when I was a child.
What do you mean by abused, Erica? That's a loaded word.
Sexually.
Yeah.
Sexually. And honestly, I let them both go to the grave without confronting it. But before I see what, I have to forgive him.
Yes.
Because it ate up my life.
Yep. That's right, Erica.
Well, when I was 33, I had a major breakdown. I was married to a junkie, and I had 3 children, and I couldn't deal anymore. The black hole hit me.
Yes.
So I put myself in a hospital because I couldn't function.
I understand that you wouldn't be able to function, right? You know what I mean? Like, to go from being sexually abused as a little girl, and no one's supposed to know, you're not supposed to tell anybody. If there's problems in the home, don't say a word to anyone. And this manifested into sickness, migraine, headaches, stomach aches, right? All the time dealing with this, thinking there's something wrong with you. And then, of course, who are you attracted to? And we see that all the time, right? You're not alone in that, Erica. You're so not alone in that.
Oh, my God, Dani, I did it 3 times.
Yes. I know.
And I got myself, I did. I got out of that hospital. Of course, the junkie husband didn't want me to go because he knew I'd get better.
Yeah.
And
misery loves company. The junkie wants you to be a junkie. You know what I mean? He doesn't want you changing your life.
Way.
Okay, so honey, what happened? How have you overcome to today?
Well, I too have been on antidepressants for umpty years, 30 years at least.
Wow.
Yeah, and there are times that I can really, I can tell when the black hole is coming.
Yes.
If I mean, stresses.
Yes. Yep, being overwhelmed,
like
lack of
life.
money, all of that stuff just triggers all that stuff from your past. Okay, so what I'm sensing in my gut is that you're still battling with this evil to this day.
Yeah, at times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's ever talked to you about this, but if you have a piece of paper and a pen, hopefully you're not driving, but if you have a piece of paper and a pen, I want to walk you through something that helped me, and I believe it is going to help you. You see, you and Melinda have something very much so in common, and I think if there was studies done, and I'm pretty sure there has been, but unfortunately, it looks like we are very quick in this country to just prescribe a drug and say this is going to fix it. It doesn't fix it. It's obvious. You've been on antidepressants for 30 years. I don't even want to think about your liver. I don't want to think about your kidney right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to think about that.
Right.
But what I do know is that there's nothing more powerful than the power of forgiveness. Nothing more powerful. So what I want you to do as we keep you further away from the black hole, okay? You see, if we forgive, we get healed. If we forgive, we get healed and we get strengthened. The next thing is that we have got to strengthen our mind with what we want to think about. You see, those controlling obsessive thoughts that bring us into that black hole, those controlling obsessive thoughts is what we have to stop. And we're going to take the gifting of the obsessive thinking to that which is good, noble, pure, and praiseworthy. You see, you have an incredible ability to focus, Erica. That's what you have. You have an amazing ability to focus, and we know this because you are able to focus on things that have driven you to the black hole. So all we're going to do is flip that gift and use it for life. It's a gift. It's in you. You were born with it. So it's, yes, forgive. Now, forgiveness means you thoroughly release all responsibility and entitlement to hearing somebody say, please forgive me, I did wrong to you. You completely release it, and you said it yourself. I have to forgive the 2 men that molested me, even though they are dead, because this has tormented me for 33 years. This is ridiculous, right? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more tips when we continue back from the break. Erica, just hold on the line, okay? This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more solutions right after this.
Working to achieve happiness in life is not easy. Advice, life stories, solutions, a beacon of hope. Stay tuned for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination, that's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
We all have questions.
What is it that hinders me, stopping me from getting to where I want to go?
Find the answers on The Dani Johnson Show.
You can't reach for anything if your hands are still full of yesterday's junk.
Keep moving forward with Dani Johnson,
so that you can get to the destiny that you're after. There is another way to live, my friend. There is.
This is The Dani Johnson Show.
Bottom line, friend, the things from our past always seem to surface themselves into our present and even dictate our future destiny if we are not aware, if we are blind, if we have been numbed out and dumbed out, especially by those wonderful antidepressants. The bottom line is we will not reach the fullness of our potential. We will not reach the destiny that is calling out to you and I. This is Dani Johnson. Welcome to Hour 2 of The Dani Johnson Show. We are exposing an obstruction to your success today. And what is the obstruction? Depression. Oh, Dani, I'm not depressed. What are you talking about? I don't have an issue with that. Oh, you might be playing with something that's going to lead you to that place and not even know it. You're flirting with your boss and you're married, you are flirting with depression. You're flirting with things that will overwhelm you and your whole life will come crashing down on you. If you're flirting around with pornography thinking nobody knows it, you and I both know how you feel when you are doing that and the fear of getting caught or people finding out. These kinds of things will lead you into a depression. Why? Because the whole house of cards all of a sudden comes crashing down. If you're being a fool with your finances and you're foolishly spending, friend, I'm telling you right now, or foolishly eating, when you know the food you're putting into your body is going to destroy your body, that's going to lead you into depression. Do you understand? Depression itself isn't something that falls out of the sky, lands on my head, and now I'm like, I have a problem. There was a road that gets you to that place, and we got to identify that road because you might be on the road whether you realize it or not, and you need to get off of that road. And second of all, if you're already in that deep depressed place, I'm giving you solutions today on how to get out, and I'm telling you, drugs is not the answer. I know this personally. I have battled with depression for more than 11 years, but 11 of my adult years, I battled with depression. Me, as a person who is positive, somebody that taught other people to think positive, somebody that was productive, yes, I was depressed. Yes, I was in Bible studies, even taught Bible studies, and yes, I battled with depression and suicidal thoughts until June 28th of 2001. And it feels so good that no matter what I encounter, and mind you, I've encountered some horrible, horrible things since 2001. Almost lost our daughter to a double aneurysm, okay? I was paralyzed for 2 months in a wheelchair in excruciating pain. These are things that can cause you to shrink back, bury your head in the sand and say, forget it, I'm done with life. It seems that all that ever happens to me is something bad. I have not had those thoughts. I haven't had suicidal thoughts. I haven't wanted to check out and be done already and just die anymore since 2001 because the root of the problem was exposed. I dealt with that sucker and bam, it's been 13 years. 13 years as an overcomer. 13 years in a row. That's a good track record, friend. And there were no drugs involved. Joining me right now is Erica from Florida. Erica just finished sharing a story of what had caused her depression. Again, if you're depressed, you got to go look back from a scientific point of view. Don't get all emotional about it, but just look back and go, hey, where did it start? Okay, and it's something I teach in our advanced training seminars is you got to follow the fruit that's in your life all the way to the root. So if the fruit in the life is I'm depressed, right? And what does depression look like? You want to sleep all the time. Your body hurts, headaches, stomach aches, just feeling very, very low. A gigantic earth on top of your shoulders that you're holding. You're trying to hold that sucker up, but you're shaking, right? Your muscles are quaking. You're getting weaker and weaker every single day. You do not see anything light. All you see is darkness. Your ears are always attuned to negative, bad, horrible news. And somehow if anyone says anything encouraging to you, it bounces off of you. Doesn't even penetrate your heart. You cannot receive a compliment. You can't receive encouragement. You're afraid to believe that things could get better. This is the fruit of depression that could be in your life. It robs your bank account. It robs your earning potential in the marketplace. You quit on things really easy. You find yourself other people who are destructive physically, financially, and relationally as well, because misery loves company. But how do we overcome? I'm bringing Erica back on. We were in the midst of giving her advice before we came back from that break. So that first thing, Erica, is I want you to make a list. Go back to that time when you were little, okay? You got to forgive mom for teaching you that your feelings were not okay to feel, for your mom teaching you to just slip it under the rug. Get over it already, honey. What's the big deal? Who cares? All families have problems, okay? No, yeah, all families do have problems, but I need help talking through it. I can't hide this anymore. Obviously, I don't know if she knew you had been molested when you were younger or not. I don't know what her response was to that. I know that when I was molested and I went to my mother, she said he won't do it again. He was loaded. He won't do it again. What, did he quit drugs last night? My stepfather continued to molest me for the next 4 years. So I understand the don't tell anybody, keep it quiet thing, but you have to forgive your mother. And forgiveness does not mean that you are condoning the way she raised you. It just means you are going to be free from the heavy burden you have been carrying with you since you were a little girl. Forgive the two that molested you. Forgive everybody else that was involved with this toxic childhood. Just make a list, okay? Just make a list. Everybody, if you can't remember their names, you know the face, the guy with the dark hair, you know what I mean? The woman with the blonde hair, the kid at school. Make the list. Forgiveness is the key to being free from depression. Forgiveness is the first step to complete and utter freedom. I don't know if you've read the best success book ever written or not, but if you hadn't, you better. And it's not one of my books, but it's the Bible. And in that book, he said, I came to set you free for the sake of being free. Do not return to a yoke of bondage. Do not return back to that depression. Step away from it and keep going away from it. So don't put yourself under the pain and the suffering again, what your mother did or didn't do, what your father did, who the molesters were, right? All the abuse that was happening in the home, the verbal abuse, the fighting, the screaming. You got to forgive and you got to release. And again, it means you fully release the right or the entitlement to hear, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I did wrong. You're releasing the right to be vindicated, because let me tell you something. Forgiveness in itself comes with vindication. What's the vindication? You're free. They ain't. What they did is on their own head, but you're free. That's the vindication you get, is that you no longer are carrying this burden. You're no longer beating yourself up with the hatred, the malice, the guilt, the shame, the deep pitted resentment that you have, that somebody needs to pay me back for stealing from me when I was a kid. You release when you forgive. Fully release and bless them. Next, and this is what I had to do, your mind is like a room. You can fill it with manure, or you can fill it with beautiful roses. Pick one. Your mind is a room. What do you want to shovel in there? Darkness, smell, death, foul? Or do you want to fill it with light, beautiful roses, beauty, beautiful scents, like a beautiful red rose on a spring day, right after a beautiful rain? What do you want to put in that room? And my sister, you must pursue that. You must protect your mind. You must fill it daily. You know, just 2 days ago, for almost 5 hours, I listened to 5 sermons by Jim Cymbala at the Brooklyn Tabernacle. 5 sermons. One after another, after another, after another. If anyone thinks that they're ever too big, too popular, too old, too smart to learn, they got another thing coming to them. They're an idiot, getting ready to hit a brick wall with their forehead. No, I must daily pour music into the room of my mind that is positive, that is helpful, that is life-giving. Daily, I have to read things that is positive, that is life-giving. And the thing I choose to read every single morning is my Bible. That's the best success book ever written. I choose that when I come across something that is encouraging, that is life-giving, I receive that into my soul, is what I say. I receive that into my soul. So I let my eyes see that which is good, because that, again, fills the room of my mind. People that watch horror movies, I want to smack them. What are you doing? You're filling your mind with fear. And now it comes out of your mouth. I'm afraid I won't be able to pay my bills. I'm afraid my husband's going to leave me. I'm afraid my kids are going to make bad choices. Hello, you're reading horror books, watching horror movies, and listening to horror music, soundtracks from the horror movies, and you can't figure out why your life is filled with fear? Don't be a fool. Your mind is a room. What do you want to fill it with? So I read daily powerful words from the Bible. I listen daily to powerful music that sprinkles me with joy or freedom or reminds me of the things that my God has taken me out of. Okay? And third, I listen to words and teaching that is giving me insight and wisdom and understanding. You do these 4 things, sister. 1, forgive. 2, humble yourself and learn. Fill your mind with that which is life-giving. The next time you turn on the TV, ask yourself, is this life-giving or not? What is this putting into my mind? These sitcoms that talk about these broken relationships, right? These talk shows of people fighting against each other. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is filling our mind. We see it on TV, then we start to act it out in our lives. We begin to fear that it's going to happen to us personally. So literally to cross over and stay over, and not only that, start to dream. That's what's going to happen based on what you put into your mind. Your mind is your house. It is a room. Decorate it the way you want it to look, sister. I've done that for 13 years. I don't know, you think it's working for me? What do you think? What do you think?
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little, honey. It's working for me, okay? It doesn't mean that my life is perfect, but it means that I have a perfect plan to walk me through the trials of life. The perfect plan to walk me through the earthquakes and the tsunamis that just happen, right? Stuff happens, and it's how we deal with what happens. What depression tries to tell us is this is the way your life is always going to be. No, I will smile through these trials. I will praise my God through these trials. I will be grateful because I know I'm going to overcome as I've overcome all of these things in my life. So Erica, you're my next overcomer. Follow these 4 steps, and I know you're going to have a powerful testimony out of it. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
You are listening to The Dani Johnson Show. Stay tuned for more of Dani Johnson in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus. The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
Depression is a prison where you are both the suffering prisoner and the cruel jailer. Ouch! That's a quote by Dorothy Rowe. Powerful, but so true. I've lived in that prison before. I lived in that prison for actually most of my adult life. It's been 13 years since I've been completely free of that prison, the prisoner, and the jailer. And I truly was the most cruel of all jailers to myself. Depression is a hindrance to your success. Listen, you were born to succeed. You were born with a destiny in mind, and there's obstructions to your success. And listen, don't let somebody else tell you what success looks like. You got to define success for you. For some, being happily married and having children and having a good, harmonious life, that is success for them. For others, it's making $1 million. Neither person is better than the other. It is what our destiny, each one of us was individually created with a destiny in mind. We were put together with all the right parts, with talents and skills and abilities. Some people had a lot, some people had a little. All people have advantages and all people have disadvantages, and it's what we do with those advantages and disadvantages. I've learned how to turn disadvantages into advantages, and that's what we talk about every single day, 6 days a week, here on the Dani Johnson Show, on the very station in which you are listening to this program. I encourage you to listen every day, because every day we're bringing you content to expose to you how to succeed, and if you're failing, how do I stop doing that? We all need that. We need to encourage each other to succeed. Now, depression is what we're talking about today. You're like, change the channel. I don't want to talk about depression. Hold on. You might be on the road on your way into crashing into the wall of depression and not even know it. Depression is not, I do not believe for a second that it's a personality thing. No, it has to do with things that happen in our life, and we've not been taught what to do with those bad things that have happened, but instead we've been taught to slip it under the rug or put a drug on it. Both doesn't work. You want to succeed, friend. You want to overcome, friend. You want to conquer, friend. But listen, you could be on a path right now that's going to lead into a cliff. Yes. A cliff where you'll be endlessly falling because of a choice you're making today. So what we've been doing is taking calls for the first hour of the Dani Johnson Show and hearing people talk about their depression story. Where did it come from? How'd they get off that road? As well as we just finished with a caller who was on the road and needing some help on how to get off. So we're going to go over the phones right now. We've got Barbara from Oklahoma. Barbara, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Well, Dani, there has been just one time in my life that I can truly say that I experienced depression. And when I was 21, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And I had medication, got through it, was fine for 20 years.
Can you explain to me what Graves' disease is?
It's basically hyperthyroidism. Most people are hypo, but this is hyper.
So what does that mean? Were you super skinny? Were you super skinny, or were you the opposite?
Super skinny.
Oh. Yeah, a lot of girls would look at you and go, I wish I had that problem.
I know. Nobody can really relate.
I'm skinny and I'm depressed about it.
It's almost the same, though, as being overweight, because when it's something that you're going through and, people don't understand, it's really the same as, people don't really understand why people are overweight and why they can't fix it and correct it.
Yep. So in this case, anyway, you were on the side that everyone rather be on. If I have a health problem, make the health problem make me skinny, please. It's kind of a terrible.
There's downfalls with that.
No, I know.
It's
weakness. Yeah. It's you're very weak, even anemic. You can't think clearly. There's a lot that goes on through that. Okay, so at 21, you were diagnosed with this disease.
Yes.
And that opened the door to what?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was okay for 20 years, and then 2 years ago, it just hit me like a totally different way than it hit me the first time, but it was like my body was having a thyroid crisis.
Wow.
And so what I likened it to was that I was kind of down in a whirlpool, and it was dark, and it was like, not a water whirlpool, but just down somewhere where
like sucking you down. It's like a vacuum sucking you into some very dark place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like no matter how hard I tried to claw my way out of it,
you couldn't get there.
I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I would just break out and cry for no reason.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
You know what, Barbara? I know what you're talking about, and you're wondering why you're crying. When we continue, we're going to hear more about the story and how you climbed out right after this.
You can't be the old person you used to be and the new person you want to become. Let go of the past and hang on for what's new and exciting and about to come into your life. Stay tuned to The Dani Johnson Show. There's more to come.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Now, more of The Dani Johnson Show.
Have you been caught under the covers, bawling your eyes out and not knowing why? 15 million people, adults in this country, that's them. They've been told a drug is going to be the answer. But I think we all know the truth. A drug is not the answer. Antidepressants is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why is it that for every problem that somebody can create for us, then they have a solution, and the solution is a drug that results in lining their pockets with greenbacks? Well, today we're exposing a major inhibitor to your success. You know, I've been in the business world for 27 years. I've been coaching and consulting business people for 23 years. And what I can tell you is that fear is a very common thing that business people have. Fear, anxiety, worry. And it's shocking to me that it is that very thing, that road of fear, that we open up our hearts to fear, that causes us to not reach our full income potential. We don't reach the bonus or the promotion that we think that we deserve. But in all reality, this fear, this worry, this anxiety is what keeps us stuck and and down and even in an impoverished type of a life. Well, we're exposing this today on the Dani Johnson Show, where we redefine success, and you get to redefine success for yourself, where you get to determine, man, where do I want to go in my life? What do I want to do? And what is stopping me? So today we are uncovering the truth about depression, where it comes from, how to fix it. And in this case, we've got Barbara that before the last break, she was sharing her story at 21, diagnosed with Graves' disease, was able to overcome it for 20 years, but then it came on her and she said, it felt like a vacuum was sucking me into a black hole and did not know what to do. No matter what she tried, it didn't fix it. So now we're going to find out what was the solution. I think from time to time, we've all felt that before, right? Whether it's emotional, once a month kind of a feeling, or it is something consistent that goes on for months and months and months at a time. So Barbara, how you identified, obviously, that there was something physically wrong. It was your hyperthyroidism that now was attacking, again, the body attacking itself in this case. So what did you do to solve this 2-year deep depression that you were in, where you're crying all the time and you just can't function?
Well, it just took a lot of time, with my doctor trying to figure out how to make my thyroid stop, because I didn't want to have radiation or surgery or anything. So we did finally, after a while, get it under control with medication, but it was after, my body was just beat up. I lost half my hair.
Wow.
Just all of that kind of stuff. And I just felt like, I weighed 1,000 pounds, even though I probably weighed 100.
Wow.
But my takeaway that I would say from that is, you can listen to people who talk about, they're depressed, or you can hear their stories, but until you've walked through something, kind of just like abuse, you don't know really what that person has gone through.
It's true.
And so I think what the enemy made for harm, that God can turn and make for good.
Amen.
So from that point on, I've had a deep sympathy and a new perspective of people who suffer for depression, and suffer from depression. And so I believe that this is something that I can take and help people and be able to speak into their lives on a new level of understanding.
So how did you beat out the depression? Because it's not just that you got the body part fixed, because there's a mental thing that was going on. You lost half your hair. You felt like you weighed 1,000 pounds, even though that you weighed 100 pounds. So what was it that started to bring that flip in your mind and in your emotions?
Well, I don't know that I've really ever thought about it like that. I've always just thought that once my hormones got leveled out, that, I was able to start thinking clearly again and just not feeling horrible all the time. And so I don't know that I've ever really dug deeper to see if there was a issue there.
Yeah. You know what? I gotta point something out that you said, because this was a physical, right? It was a hormonal issue that you had. Back in 2000, I was diagnosed as postmenopausal, and I was 30.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was 30. And so something had driven me to go and find out, like, man, because I was cold all the time, right? Depression was the mental part of everything, but I was freezing all the time. I was losing hair. I had lots of aches and pains in my body. I was too young to be dealing with this at 30 years old. And I also had this fatal heart condition at that time. My body was just completely beat up. And I ended up driving 3 hours to San Francisco to meet with a homeopathic doctor. And sure enough, he did a full extensive test of my hormones and found that I was postmenopausal. I had 0.05% of progesterone in my body. And so he says, your hormones are treating you like you're 60 years old. I'm like, awesome. Thanks for the good news. But what he did is he gave me natural ways to be able to solve the symptoms. That was that part. But that wasn't the completion of it all. Yes, nutrition actually helped. It helped with my flying off the handle a little bit. You know what I mean? It calmed me down just a little bit, and I started to warm up a little bit. I stopped losing hair through the nutrition part. But it didn't complete everything. And the full completion didn't happen until God healed me of that spirit of depression that I had carried around for 30 years. As a kid being suicidal. You see, you had a moment of depression, something went bad, oh my gosh, this is terrible, right? We're talking, I had 30 years of depression. So my whole life up to that point, until I was 31, something like that, it had attacked me. I'd have moments of good times, but then just, meaning my highs were super high, my lows were ridiculously low. And so I'm happy for you that nutrition brought that. And I did have an element of that. There was a little bit of a relief for me. My issue was obviously chronic and ridiculous and demonic in all reality is what mine was. So anyway, but I understand the deal what you're saying, that you now have sympathy and understanding and empathy for people who have suffered through depression. You know what it feels like. You know what it tastes like. You know how it beats you up. And therefore you can minister encouragement and say, I once was there. I once was there. And sometimes the answer is that it is physical. I'm not saying mental, physical. The hormones are not working right. Therefore the mind is cloudy. And so if somebody right now is listening, you identify with Barbara, I highly recommend that you do. You get those kinds of things checked out. And oftentimes we eat bad foods that can make us depressed. No joke. Give us stomach aches, give us headaches, not drinking enough water. These kinds of things will cause us to get low. Our body is fighting against stresses every day. And if we're not smart with our body and feed our body what it needs, okay, again, if you think about, I gave the analogy of your mind is a room, what do you want to fill it with? Your body's the same way. Your body is a room. What do you want to fill it with? You want to fill it with junk? Ugh. Or do you want to fill it with good health, cleanliness? Do you understand? Functioning, purity. You determine what you're going to put in your body. You're going to put a Coke in your body that is just filled with terrible chemicals. I don't even want to talk about what's inside that stuff. All I know is it'll eat chrome, right? What's it doing to the inside of your body versus clean, fresh water? My preference is alkalized water, right? If your body is a room and you're filling it with something, what you put in is what you're going to get out. And so I happen to have messed my body up through stress. Stress is what tore my body up. All those years of carrying depression tore my body up. So now my body was rejecting me. So, and sometimes we have to approach it from two different directions. All right, so we're going over. Barbara, thanks so much for taking the time to call in and share your story. We really appreciate you for doing that. I know you helped somebody today. We have Melissa from Cedar, Minnesota. Is that Minnesota? Melissa?
Yep.
Hi, I did it right. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dani. How are you?
How did you overcome depression?
Oh, I've had one thing after another happen in my life, and unfortunately, I had children in the time that all the labels were coming about, and the ADD and all of that stuff, and as I've gotten older, and then this last incident that I'm pretty sure God had to knock me on my butt to realize that we need Him and only Him.
Yes.
And I thank God for you. How I found you, I was in Barnes & Noble. I was homeless, living out of my car because I was helping one of my younger sons as I was living my life in default. And I had nowhere to go, so I would go and read books. And your Spirit-Driven Success knocked my elbow and it fell on the floor, and I closed the store. No. So it is pretty awesome, and there's a lot more to that. But
hold on a second. This is an amazing, miraculous story. So you are a homeless woman, and you're going into Barnes & Noble. Obviously, there's some kind of comfort there. You're a homeless woman who went into there to read books. I'm so proud of you, Melissa. And literally, like, walking down an aisle of books and your elbow knocks my book off of the shelf? Really?
Nope.
Now, if that wasn't an angel, I don't know what was, right? Give me a break. It might not have been your angel. I bet you anything, like if there's an angel in front of you, he pulled the book out just a little bit, pushed you over a little bit so that your elbow would knock that sucker off. That's amazing to me. What a crazy story. So you pick up the book and you start to read it, and you said that you read it until the store closed?
No, I actually...
Okay, hold on a second. I don't want to interrupt you again. We got to pull off for a real quick break. This is Dani Johnson. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear the rest of this story. What an awesome thing. Homeless woman reading in Barnes & Nobles. You never know who's there. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue after this.
Dani has helped thousands upon thousands get on track to living a better life. Don't go away. More of the Dani Johnson Show is on the way.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Depression is a lifelong of unforgiven hurts, holding on to things that hurt us, thinking it's hurting the other person or the people. Depression, anxiety, worry, oppression, suppression is a massive hindrance to your success, my friend. It will not help you, but it keeps you locked in an impoverished place. It keeps you, robs you of joy, holds you hostage, causes you to question every good thing that's in your life. Joining me right now is Melissa from Minnesota, who is just sharing with us that she'd battled with depression, and she was a homeless woman not too long ago, walking through a Barnes & Noble as a homeless woman, going in there to read books. Just so happened, miraculously, her elbow hits one book off the shelf, and it happened to be this book, Spirit-Driven Success. I've been anxiously awaiting to find out what is the rest of the story. So you knock this book off the shelf, you pick it up, and what, you start reading it.
Well, I closed the store, so I got kicked out, so I had to go and read it in my car for a little bit, and then just kept reading. And what led me to this point is being homeless is that husband, marriage, left me 11 times. Through this book, we are still trying to work it out. I'm writing a book about all of my things that I've went through, and I can totally relate to everything that you've been saying. Depression is all about garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
The other book that I was reading is Dr. Carolyn Leaf, and your analogy with the broom is the same as the fishbowl and the rice stirring around and around and around. And if you don't grab those spots and learn how to take which ones are good for you, and you look at it, and if it's good for you, then keep it. But if it's not, stomp on it, because that's Satan trying to get you down.
That's right. And that's exactly what the best success book ever written says, right? It says, take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. I remember, Melissa, when I was battling with depression at one point in my life, there were many times, but for the last 13 years, I've been completely free, that when I came across that passage, it's such amazing wisdom, right? Hold every thought captive. So, you know, that thought floating in, like, you're a loser, you're going to lose everything, right? And I go, bam, pause. Lord God Almighty, if that thought is from you, I receive it and teach me what you want me to know with it. But if that thought is not from you, I bind it and cast it into the pit of hell where it belongs in Jesus' name. The thought would leave. Yep. The thought would leave. And I was amazed of the good thoughts that God would plant into my mind. And I was amazed of the auto thoughts that would come into my mind that I entertained for years that I never thought about. Do you know what I mean? They just run, they float through your head, and you entertain them, you give birth to them, right? And they turn into other children who are giving birth, all inside of your head, crowding your head with filth instead of with life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then recently, how I ended up homeless was I was helping my younger son, who I can't wait to read Raising the Next Generation, but grandbaby was just born, and I moved out of my one-bedroom apartment, and because of my occupation as a property manager, had the ability to give them leasing history and all of that. Right. Well, this girl that he ended up with learned when her mom died when she was 9 that if you call the police and tell them that that person hit you, that one, they're going to jail.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up homeless. My son lied. I've been through everything and more.
Yeah.
And every trial, everything that happens, I have learned it's how you react to it.
That's right.
It's
exactly. That's it.
A pill's not going to fix it.
That's
a pill
right.
does not fix it.
That's right.
That's exactly what you're saying.
That's right.
And I can relate to everybody out there because I've been in their shoes.
That's right.
At one point or another.
That's right. Melissa, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you that you are an overcomer and that you are filling your mind with what you know you should be putting in your mind, that you are not allowing those thoughts to beat you to a bloody pulp anymore, and that you also are taking that was intended to bury you, using it to be a life-breathing person, a life-giving person, a life of encouragement to other people. And I bless this book that you're writing. Man, I'm excited to see the lives that are going to change because of the overcomer that you've chosen to be. And therefore, you are going to encourage other people on how to overcome. It doesn't matter how many trials we encounter. It's how we react to them, no question. Thanks so much for taking the time to share with us that story. It was awesome. We've got Jennifer for here just a couple more minutes from California. Jennifer, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hello, Jennifer? Jennifer is muted. I hate it when that happens.
Whoops.
There we go.
I forgot I'm muted.
Hi.
Hey, Dani.
Hi. Good to have you.
Thank you. So I have battled with depression pretty much as far back as I can remember. Mm-hmm. A lot of it, I think, was just, I don't know if it was a learned behavior, but I tended to be I'm not going to pronounce it right, a catastrophizer.
Nice.
Little thing.
Like everything is so bad, it's catastrophic. I got a D. It's catastrophic on my paper. I understand what you're saying. I like that term, actually. That's awesome. Okay, now tell me, how have you overcome the years of depression that you had?
It really started with, first, my mom, she had gone back to school and was taking psychology later in life after I had already, grown up and out of the house. And that is when she started telling me that how I think makes all the difference in how I feel.
It's 100% true.
Yes, it is.
100% true, because how we think is what we speak, and life and death is in the power of our tongues. Now, that was a good mommy, even though you were already an adult. Yes, how we think determines how we feel. How we speak determines where we go in life. This is the facts, and we will eat the fruit of the words that come out of our mouths. Try it even today. If you focus on your headache, the headache gets bigger. You focus on your backache, the backache gets bigger. It does. It gets worse. I've always told my kids, I hate homework. Well, that makes homework 30,000 times harder to finish. But if you just don't say that, if you just don't think that you just think, all right, I'm going to pound this out and do my best, hello, it changes everything. I love it. Jennifer, thanks so much for what you just said. We're wrapped up here at the very end of the show now. I hope that today helped you. Look at all the different tips that we heard, right? We saw all the different symptoms of depression and how people got there. Most of it was bitterness and resentment. We had one that was actual physical thyroid issue that messed up the hormones. As soon as that was fixed, depression was gone. We did find a common ground. How we think determines how we feel. How we feel determines how we speak. Your mind is like a room. Fill it with what you want in it. Quit filling it with dung. This is Dani Johnson. Today you can overcome, my friend. You're a conqueror. Now go out there and get the job done. We'll continue with another show for you tomorrow. God bless.
It's time to say goodbye for now, but tune in again for the next Dani Johnson Show right here. Dani has so much to say and so little time to say it all. We welcome you to join us right back here again. Until then, make the most of life. You've been listening to The Dani Johnson Show.
I remember being homeless and broke and broken in every way and being overloaded with financial pressure, the pressure that I was a failure, the social pressure, everything that I felt like was crashing down on top of me. And at the same time, I felt so alone until I learned the strategies of first steps to success. You have the chance, my friend, to annihilate all of your debt. Think about that. You have the chance to grow your income through your current career or even learning to start a brand new business that will be profitable. You also have the chance for learning how to motivate the people that are in your life that are driving you crazy and how to have significant breakthrough, not only spiritually, but physically, financially, and socially, and business-wise. And so I'm excited to see you at First Steps to Success. It's coming up January 17th through the 19th. Get yourself registered today, 888-757-8880. There's a seat with your name on it, friend. 888-757-8880.